everyone, today I want to talk about a case that seems so insane. It seems, I hate using the example, but it seems like an actual Better Call Saul episode where someone wants to like sue a company, but via like some labyrinth of like a contract they wrote, there's like one time like fine print be like, you can't sue us, and they had no idea about it. But because they signed it, they legally have to agree to it, no matter like how dumb it is. There have been numerous examples before in the past, because contracts is like one of those things where normally you trust a person or a company to not make like the most evil stuff ever in a contract that you don't read. So you believe that it's fair, it's stuff that you agree with, and you just sign it. It's only after you're fucked over that you pull up the contract and you read the small details that you glossed over, and then you realize, oh yeah, I messed up. I mean, even nowadays, with more stuff coming out like subscriptions, services, the frequency of normal people signing contracts or terms of services is so common. They probably have the average person probably has 1,000 that they forgot about. I mean, even then, you don't read it. You just take a tiny box that says, I've read the terms of services. But you haven't. No one wants to waste time of reading a 30 paragraph long contract that's full of gibberish. It's like that South Park episode where is Cartman or someone, where they get an iPad, they agree to it, and the FBI kill them or try to kidnap them, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I read the terms of service. I mean, I actually know what I'm getting into, right? This story here today feels just at home to that show, cause it happened in real life. It's not bullshit, it's not fake, it's not imaginary. But it feels so dumb. It feels like it had to be written up by some sick fuck as as an awful joke. It's so bad. It would take a pretty evil and malicious company to pull it off. Except it's the most magical company in the world, Disney. Yeah. They've been in the news recently for a lawsuit, or trying to avoid a lawsuit, where basically, for context, there was a guy that went to Disneyland with his family, and they stopped by a restaurant that was there. It wasn't Disney themed, it was an average restaurant, and they had a nice meal, but they warned, the waiters that the wife had a severe allergy to nuts and milk. It was so bad, they told them over and over to make 100% sure they don't put that shit in the food. And you would think, basic proper allergy care in a first world country, it happened in America, in Florida, would be, actually taken care of. Except it wasn't, because the wife ended up getting a dish that had exactly almond nuts, and milk. That is severely depressing. One of my biggest fears, having a death that you believe is so unplanned for, it's so tiny chance of happening, you don't have to worry about it. But stuff like that, it's even worse than the restaurant should have had the actual care and be professional to take care of it and not let it happen. But because of just one careless waiter or one ignorant chef, they didn't take the precaution to stop it. And I feel this guy, the husband, he was in the right to sue Disneyland, or just Disney in general, because the restaurant, it was still part of Disneyland. Therefore, they should be the ones to make sure that all the business in the premises should be thorough and professional enough to not allow stuff like this to happen. So with that, he filed a lawsuit to Disney asking for $50,000 with paying as well for the legal costs, the lawyers and the whole stuff when you go to court. And to me, that's very generous. I did say, his wife did die. I get it that Disney wasn't, 100% fault. It wasn't like Mickey Mouse curve stomped his wife. But at the same time, for that amount, for a company that big, I feel like with the grief and just the trauma of seeing your wife die in front of you from an allergy, you'd be asking for more. But that's the guy asking for it, not me. But I say that because, apart from how low it is, being the fact that Disney, when they got the lawsuit, they responded by saying that the husband can't sue them because 5 years ago, back in 2019, he signed a contract, or he signed a term of service when he made a free trial for Disney Plus, saying in actual fine print, they can't sue them, and whatever goes on, they have to handle it outside of court, like arbitration. And even though that sounds very inconsequential, they exercised that right to the extent of a man suing them for the death of his wife. They actually said that in court. Well, not in court, but out to the law firm hired by the husband, and basically to everyone in public. And that is insane to me. The goal of a multi-billion company that has enough money, worth the GDP of a second world country, saying that they're not going to pay $50,000 to some guy because some contract they signed 5 years ago, they don't want you to court and pay him that money. No, absolutely not. To be fair to Disney, It was more so like how, not really like how much money they're asking or he's asking, more so like how they don't have the connotation of going to court over the idea that they subsequently killed the man's wife. They're much sure, they would still be willing to pay him that money or even more, but they don't want to publicly go to court over it because it looks bad for them. But if you know what the Streisand effect is, it's exactly that. By trying to avoid the lawsuit of seeming bad for killing a man's wife, somewhat, they're using the excuse that sounds so bad, it makes it even worse than just going to court in the first place, like just fucking themselves over. So when you tell it to the public, especially a grieving man, they're not gonna be like, oh, they don't want to be associated with this. They're gonna be like, oh, they just killed someone and took no responsibility for it at all. Like I said before, Disney is going to handle this via arbitration, where they don't go to court, it's more handled privately, where from there, they can, agree to what they can pay him, like the husband, probably more than 50,000, or probably nothing, because, if it doesn't go to court, it can be, it can be handled by a judge, so the guy can be fucked over by anything. I don't think they would, because, of how rich they are. To them, 50,000 or 100,000 would be like nothing to them. But again, if they're willing to bring up the idea of the excuse of not going to lawsuit because like a tiny contract someone wrote for Disney Plus to watch The Mandalorian 5 years ago, they're probably willing to go a bit farther than that and give them nothing. Because again, how well of a deal do you think a lone widowing husband can strike with a multi-billion-dollar company like Disney? Thankfully, their excuse and reasoning hasn't been accepted yet. Because of course, the guy, his law firm, the public were like, that's so moronic, why would we agree to an arbitration or just letting this pass? Initially, I would defend Disney a tiny bit, because again, it was very indirect, where a tiny incident from a restaurant led to the whole company being blamed, but it was the fact that led to like such a inhumane and unethical excuse that nobody could agree with at all. Not to mention, it was Disney. I like the idea of Mickey Mouse going to court and telling the law firm he's not taking any responsibility for the whole staff and it's all purely for the restaurant, not his.